Jurassic Park, a film that truly spared no expense with its amazing use of practical and CG effects that were revolutionary for its time, its colorful cast of characters that had so much to offer, and its engaging story that was enjoyed by many. With all of these elements put together, it's no wonder why the film would go on to make over $1 billion in the box office and receive an overwhelmingly amount of positive reception. But more than anything, for what felt like the first time for many, it felt that dinosaurs were finally being represented in a way that felt genuine. Maybe not in a scientifically accurate way, but in a way that didn't hold back any punches and took them seriously, and at the same time could be enjoyed by both children and adults alike. With all of this in mind, it's not surprising that Jurassic Park would become extremely popular, but unfortunately there are a lot of downsides with popularity. For example, in many people's eyes, mainly the money-hungry higher-ups from large corporations, will see the popularity as an opportunity to gain more money, and as a result will attempt to milk the movie for all it's worth, losing the genuineness it once had. But that's just one example. Other times there are people who will try to leech off the success of the original work, and Jurassic Park was no exception to this. After its release in 1993, it wasn't long for some people to jump on the dinosaur bandwagon and release their own movie centered around them simply for the sake of gaining a quick buck. And since Jurassic Park has become so massive within these last few decades, to this day there are still people trying to bank off of the name alone, just by putting Jurassic in the titles of their movies, thinking it'll be enough to trick people into watching them. Now back in the day, there were a couple of movies that tried to bank off of the dinosaur hype that Jurassic Park had spawned in the early 90s, with Carnosaurs being the most infamous one. But there was another movie that was made that a lot of people aren't aware of. One that was made, at least according to the sources I've read, for the sole purpose of capitalizing off of Jurassic Park. One with such a small budget and lacking any real quality to it that it's borderline unwatchable. But like any train wreck, it's hard to look away. This movie that we're going to be talking about today is Dinosaurs from the Deep. Now, it's completely reasonable if you've never heard of this movie before, not just because it's pretty shit, but also because there's a reason for its obscurity. But before we get into that, we should go over the film itself. Dinosaurs from the Deep is a French science fiction horror movie released in 1993, and it was directed by Norbert Moutier. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly, and if I didn't, I'm sure you guys will just correct me in the comments down below. You guys were so nice about it last time. Norbert Moutier had always had a fascination for movies dating all the way back to when he was a child. In fact, this obsession for film would eventually become his living, as he would end up converting his comic book store into a video store that holds rare movies and comics of all kinds. Along with this, Moutier was also known for making his own movies and comic strips. As far as the movies go, they were known for being extremely low budget and in very poor quality. But Moutier didn't seem to care, as according to my very limited set of sources, Moutier was an enthusiast for Z movies. For those of you that aren't familiar with the Z movies, they're low budget movies that manage to be an even lower quality to that of B movies. They are quite literally bottom of the barrel stuff, but this was the kind of stuff that Moutier had a passion for, and as a result he would make his own movies with his own resources. But it's not like he found a studio to help produce these movies and eventually distribute hard copy versions of them into stores. No, apparently he did all of this himself. These movies were self-published on VHS tapes and didn't have wide distribution like normal movies would have. Technically, they are labeled to have been edited and distributed by what would sound like actual companies at first, but looking into them, they just lead us back to here, indicating that these were also self-made by Moutier himself and were probably just put there to make the movie sound more professional. It seems that these movies were more of a passion project than anything. But this makes me curious about something like Dinosaurs from the Deep, as there are sources that say that this movie was made to capitalize off of Jurassic Park. But if Moutier wasn't making any real money from his work due to the lack of distribution of the film itself, then how exactly was he capitalizing off of the movie? Maybe not necessarily through monetary gain, but maybe to gain some sort of attention, maybe? I don't really know. It gets weirder when some of these sources say that he made these films for his own pleasure. So if that was the case, then that would technically mean that he didn't care about the monetary gain from these films, right? Maybe there's something I'm missing here, but because English was not Moutier's first language and I don't understand French, it was pretty challenging to follow all of the interviews with him. I tried my best to find a way to translate some of these interviews, but I couldn't find any real way to do it. And unsurprisingly, YouTube's auto-translator feature was no help at all. But after watching a couple of these interviews, what I could gather was that Moutier's work was not only a bit more well known in his respective region, but I get the sense that it was also praised. Again, don't use me as a solid source for this, I don't understand the language, translate it for me in the comments please, I'm brain dead. I'm sure there's more in these interviews that I missed, and I would genuinely like to know more about this, so if there's anyone in the comments that maybe knows the language and can translate it for me, that would be awesome. So with how Moutier filmed and distributed his movies, it answers the question of how Dinosaurs from the Deep is so obscure. Despite that, I was able to find the film in full on YouTube, but the quality is so atrocious and distracting that it's genuinely hard to watch the movie. Even with the language barrier, I feel like I would have a much better experience with this movie if it didn't look like garbage. But hey, I guess you get what you pay for, so let's just go through this film and get it over with. The movie takes place 11 years into the future, in the year of 2004. 2004, what a time to be alive. A time before the pandemic, ridiculous presidential elections, and TikTok. In this movie though, it's supposed to serve as an advanced future in which the death penalty is no longer enforced. So to deal with criminals that are deserving of this sentence, apparently secret agents or some shit travel back in time, in which the death penalty is legal and execute the criminals there. But for whatever reason, they decide fuck it, let's go back in time where laws are completely non-existent and just do a bunch of random pointless shit there. That's essentially what this movie is. I guess they're trying to kill two birds with one stone here, because along with dealing with the prisoner, this mission is also escorted by scientists, I guess, who want to go back in time for their own reasons, which is to see dinosaurs in the flesh or something. Listen, you're getting an American's point of view of a French movie that has no subtitles or dubs or anything, okay? This is what you're gonna get. The movie starts off with an unnecessarily long sequence of a ninja running away from the police. Yup, that's how this movie is starting. But seriously, this is not an exaggeration. This scene goes on way longer than it should, and it's pretty fucking boring to watch. You know what? Never mind, this is pretty funny to watch. Anyways, they eventually capture the ninja, take him into custody, and the scenes between this and the actual time traveling sequence are extremely boring. Maybe I'd have a better experience with this movie if I could understand the language, but knowing how B-movies tend to execute their exposition in a laughable and boring way, I really don't expect much from this Z movie. I guess they're just discussing their plans to travel back in time to get eaten by dinosaurs or something, I don't know. Anyways, suddenly they're in the time machine, I guess, and land in the primordial world millions of years into the past, but it just looks like their local park. Also, the sequences of the time machine landing are top tier quality if I do say so myself. Anyways, from here a bunch of pointless shit happens, and oh yeah, this YouTube version of the movie really bugs out during some scenes, making it actually unironically unwatchable. But luckily this doesn't happen during the dinosaur scene, because we finally get to see it, and it's just so beautiful. So in case you couldn't tell, the up-close shots of the dinosaur are made up of paper mache, and the clay and toy models are used for full body shots, with the use of stop motion to bring them alive. And as you can clearly see, these effects are truly revolutionary. I mean, the dinosaur looks so real, look at that looks amazing. Okay, it's hard to joke at this point because it looks so fucking stupid. Nothing in this scene is consistent. The two different models used for the same dinosaur look so different from each other that I wouldn't be surprised if people were genuinely confused after watching this scene. And it doesn't help that the lighting, transitions, and overall editing are so bad that it's really hard to tell whether the story is progressing or whether or not the scene is over. From what I can gather, it looks like one of the characters got eaten and the rest of the group is hiding in the cave, which I don't blame them. This thing looks like my paralysis demon. I would be running and hiding too. After that, everyone starts running away in yet another unnecessarily long scene that's just there to pad out the runtime. Oh yeah, we also see more shots of the dinosaur's amazing special effects in all its glory. Truly amazing work right there. Eventually, the dinosaur just randomly stops chasing them, and then they meet this woman out of nowhere, and then she starts dancing over what I'm assuming is copyrighted music for some reason. And then she takes this guy away to go fuck him or something. I'm starting to sense we're no longer watching a movie here. Haha, just kidding, she just led him to his death because she double-crossed him because she was teaming up with the ninja dude who I guess disappeared from the movie a few scenes back. I didn't even notice with how poorly edited this film is. It makes everything look like one scene and multiple scenes at the same time. But yeah, this random woman double crosses them. Oh no, who could have seen this coming? And then they trap the dude in a cage where the T-Rex happens to be and he's fed to the T-Rex. Such amazing acting right here. So then the ninja dude goes hunting for the rest of the group because he has the gun that he took from the other guy he just killed. I'm sorry this video is going to be hard to follow. I don't know anybody's name in this film. I guess I could have looked them up, but at this point, I really don't care that much. Anyways, the ninja captures them, takes them back to the cave, and puts them in the cage for them to be fed by the dinosaur. Also, one thing I found funny was how they tied the guy up with glasses, but he ended up breaking out of the cage without any real effort. While that's happening, the people back at the time machine get worried about the group and the fact that they haven't returned yet, I guess, so one of them grabs a gun and goes out to look for them. He then runs into the T-Rex, and with very little reaction at all, this fucking Chad right here just shoots the T-Rex dead like nothing. I mean, I guess a lack of reaction is more of a testament to this guy's bad acting more than anything. Anyways, he finds the survivors, takes them back to the time machine, and that's the end of the movie. Haha, just kidding, dinosaurs on a spaceship or something, I don't even know. Yeah, a dinosaur managed to somehow get on the ship that they took to go back in time in, because of course it did. Nothing even really happens in this scene except for some people being killed by a literal fucking hand puppet. Are you kidding me? So they start chasing this little fucker around the ship, and for some reason it just keeps getting the upper hand on people and killing them. Instead of doing the logical thing and, oh I don't know, maybe kick it away or just stomp it to death, they've got to pad out this runtime instead, so they just let it kill off as many unimportant people as possible. We've got like 10 minutes of this film left. It's been a struggle, but I think we could power through the rest. Oh hey, what do you know? Nothing happens in these next 10 minutes, and after all of that pointless filler, the dinosaur just ends up killing everyone. What a fucking waste of time. Here's the thing, when I did the research for this movie and found out everything about it before watching it, I knew full well that it wasn't going to have any redeeming qualities to it. I expected nothing from this movie, and I'm still disappointed. Oh yeah, the movie ends with a couple of people going into the time machine ship, whatever this thing is, after it lands and finds the main character in a comatose state. And for whatever reason, even though the whole movie is in French, they decide to cap it off with a final card sequence in English, stating how the main character is now in an asylum and talks about how he saw dinosaurs, but no one has seen proof of it. Even though the dinosaur that killed everyone is probably still in the ship, which should be proof enough, but who the fuck cares about consistency anyways? And that was Dinosaur From The Deep, an incoherent, unwatchable, low-quality, bottom-of-the-barrel mess of a movie. 10 out of 10 would watch again. So yeah, this was quite the find. I never thought I would ever find a movie that would surpass the lack of quality of something like Area 407. I think I've done it, guys. I've managed to locate a dinosaur movie that is so garbage that it could quite literally take the title as the worst dinosaur movie ever made. So I mentioned before that I didn't know how Moutier could have capitalized off of Jurassic Park if he made these movies for his own pleasure, but I wrote that part before I watched the actual movie. I now realize that when they mentioned for his own pleasure, it's possible it just meant that despite the fact that he could have totally been capitalizing off of a popular title, at the end of the day he made his movies the way he wanted to, without any real limitations and being fully aware that it wasn't going to be good. But it's something that he enjoyed making, seeing how he has a passion for these really low quality movies. Hell, he's made several other titles like Dinosaur From The Deep, like Alien Platoon and Mad Mutilator, among other titles. We could talk all kinds of shit on this guy's work, but I guess at the end of the day, what he was doing is no different than what smaller creators on this very platform do. Make shitty content they think is good. We've all been there, and if Moutier making these movies for his own pleasure holds true, then hey, good on the guy for making what he likes, even though it was pretty shit. Moutier had worked in his movie shop up until 2012, where he then retired and moved to Orleans. Oh, sorry, that was the American version. I meant Orleans. Unfortunately, Moutier passed away just last year at the age of 79. As far as his comic book slash video store goes, it's not active anymore, which isn't that surprising considering he retired about 8 years before his passing. But regardless, at least we still have his works in both films and comics to remember him by.